Now, I don't know about you, but the second we say goodbye to August, I'm pretty much ready to swap out my swimsuits for scarves and ankle boots. It's officially September, which means I'm giving myself full permission to talk about all things fall. Okay, I'm aware that we technically have a few weeks left of summer, but I just can't help myself. If you know me at all, you already know I love this season, the cozy vibes, the seasonal scents. Like I'm ready to just smell apple and cinnamon constantly pumping through my nose, and also just watching the leaves change color and really being able to visualize the changing of the seasons and the start of something new. But one thing that gets me especially giddy about this time of year is fall fashion. There's just something about pulling out those cozy layers, rich colors, and seasonal trends that instantly put me in that autumn mindset. In today's episode, we're diving into everything you need to know to refresh your wardrobe for the season, from the biggest trends for fall 2025 to my must have wardrobe staples, and also some tips for dressing during those tricky transitional temperatures. Before we dive in and start chatting all things fall fashion, let's do a little create and consume. And you guys, I cannot believe that I finished recording last week's podcast about 2 hours before news broke about Taylor and Travis getting engaged. I feel like even if you're not a Swiftie, you've heard of this by now. Like this news has reached you in some way. It is possibly one of the closest things that we will have in America to a royal wedding. And I am just so excited and happy and elated for them both. And if you want to see exactly how excited I am, you can go watch the reel that I created on Instagram last week where I was reacting basically like as I was finding out about it in real time to the news of their engagement. You can see a little green screen video clip of me looking at the Instagram post and then proceeding to run laps around my apartment out of joy. And it was just so much fun to be on the internet that day. I feel like it was a boost of serotonin that we all needed. And I loved seeing everyone's reactions to it. And especially people on threads were making some really great points just about like not settling and finding your person and finding someone who matches your energy. And I think that that's a great reminder to everyone, because sometimes relationships can be confusing and messy. But when you find someone who chooses you every single day and who prioritizes you and makes you feel like the best, sparkliest version of yourself, that's obviously something worth celebrating. So I'm super excited. I notified like everyone. I was like the town crier, just texting as many people as possible, sharing the news. And it was just such a joyous day to be online, truly. And then, as far as what I've been consuming this week, I am tempted to talk to you about The Summer I Turned Pretty once again, even though we still have 3 episodes left at the time that I'm recording this. And I am so excited and curious to see Belly in Paris this coming week. And the episode is actually dropping on my birthday. So by the time you're listening to this, my birthday would have been yesterday, September 3rd. So happy birthday to me. And congratulations to Belly for getting on the plane and getting out of there and getting some time to clear her head. It's just occupying so much of my brain space. Like I am anxiously awaiting each new episode that drops. And it's so crazy to think that these were books that I just grew up reading and loving, and to see them like come to life now and to still care as much as I do, and to see that everyone else online is like enjoying jumping into the conversation as well has just been a really fun time. So I will definitely have watched the episode by the time that this podcast episode comes out. I will have watched the Summer I Turned Pretty episode. So if you'd like to discuss, feel free to jump in my DMs. Let me know what you think. And then I did also finally finish a book last week, you guys. And I gotta say, this one took me a little while to get through. And I actually don't think I would recommend it. It was called Early 30s by Josh Duboff. And Josh is actually, he was a senior writer at Vanity Fair. And then he also went on to do some freelance work for Airmail, which was Graydon Carter's project that he launched after leaving Vanity Fair. He's also written for many other publications. He's profiled like big celebrities for cover stories before, including Taylor Swift, actually, for Vanity Fair's, I want to say it was the September 2015 issue. I don't know though, you guys. I kind of think that this guy should maybe stick to nonfiction writing. I just found this novel to be so erratic and confusing and hard to follow. The narrator kind of shifted quite a bit, and sometimes it wasn't even apparent like who the narrator was. Usually when you have a multi POV story like that in an Ellen Hildebrand novel, for example, they'll put like the name of the character at the top of the new chapter so you know who's talking. Sometimes that was just entirely omitted, and it took me a little while to piece together who was even talking, because a lot of the characters' inner monologues kind of sounded similar. And when I first read the information on the book cover, it was like pitched as a friendship story between two characters. And then we also end up in the heads of like all these other kind of side characters in their story. And I felt like we kind of lost the plot a little bit. Like we lost what the main characters were doing in their friendship dynamic. And there was plenty to work with there already. And I actually felt like the one character, Victor's point of view, was definitely the strongest. And I would have liked to spend a little more time in his head. I don't know. It was just really messy. Also, there was like a lot of time jumping. Like, I think the entire book somehow spanned more than 3 years since the beginning of the book. But it took me a long time to catch on to the fact that time had passed because one character would subtly mention, like, oh, yeah, that was 7 months ago. And I would be like, oh, what? I thought this was like the next day. I just found it a little hard to follow as a reader. So for that reason, I actually would not recommend it. But I did just start Amy Odell's new biography on Gwyneth Paltrow. So I'll keep you guys posted on that one. I'm super excited for this. And as always, don't forget to let me know what you are creating and consuming as well. Did you also create an Instagram reel running around your apartment when Taylor and Travis's engagement news broke? Or have you read something recently that you do or don't recommend? You can leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. You can also leave a comment if you're listening on Spotify. You can come say hi on Instagram or TikTok at Create and Consume Pod. You could send us an email. All of those links are always available to you in the show notes if you want to reach out. And with that, let's dive into all things fall fashion. Now, I, in preparation for this episode, was scouring the internet to see like what are the big trends coming up for fall 2025 because I find that some websites, like some of the fashion publications or even some independent like blogs and YouTube channels, sometimes they say trends that are kind of very obvious in my head, like jewel tones. Like, yes, we tend to move more from pastels into like burgundy and jade and sapphire in the autumn months. Like that's a no-brainer. That's a little bit less of a trend and more kind of like a guaranteed thing that happens. So I was really looking to see like what was on the fall 2025 runways that were shown back in the spring, and also what felt like trends that were a little more tangible than just like referencing specific fabrics that you might wear, but we will talk about those later on in this episode. I went through and pulled out the 6 that I'm most excited about and that I felt were the most unique, and I scoured blogs and YouTube channels, and I went back and looked at some runway photos as well, so hopefully this gives you a cohesive idea of what you can expect to see more of this fall 2025. And by the way, like I share these for fun, but if you're listening to this and you're like, ew, that's not my style whatsoever, you can always wear what you want. Trends are here to have fun with. They're here to dip your toes into. They're a reason to have you experiment and wear something outside of your typical style. But that doesn't mean that you have to buy into every single trend or love every single trend. There's even 1 or 2 on this list that I personally wouldn't wear, but I think is fun, and that's why I wanted to spotlight them. Now, I saw this trend kind of called a couple of different things, but I thought the name that described it best was almost harvest inspired. Like, picture you are a glamorous gardener, or you work on the pumpkin farm, or you work at the maple syrup company, and picture like you're in a Hallmark movie and you are adjacent to something harvest related and that's like your full-time gig. In my head, that materializes in clothing with things like puffy sleeves, kind of peasant blouses, Peter Pan collars. Also think work like trousers, like maybe more rough khaki cargo pants or work pants, things like that. Even lug sole boots are things that you could actually picture yourself working in a field, so to speak, with. I just think that this also is very much a reflection of, I don't know, the style that I tend to see for like upstate New York, just as an example. I feel like if you were to drive through any town upstate this time of year, like, Kingston, Hudson, you pick what you want, I feel like you would see a couple of people who embody this aesthetic. It's giving hosting a farm to table dinner party every night. Another trend that I stumbled across was layered lace, and there were a couple of designers that even did head to toe lace outfits, and some of the designers who shared lace looks on the runways this last season were Saint Laurent and Carolina Herrera. I just think that when it comes to adding texture to an outfit or like choosing a primary texture to be the standout piece of your outfit. There's so much that you can do with lace and how you choose to style it. One of my favorite pieces that I acquired last season, I want to say, or maybe 2 years ago, I feel like it was last year, is actually a black. How do I even explain this? It's almost like a peasant style blouse, but it's all sheer black lace. I got it from Cezanne. It has honestly kind of a similar collar to the top I'm wearing today if you're watching on YouTube. This is from Ann Taylor Loft from like 2 years ago though. But it has that almost pleated collar. It comes up a little bit on the neck, but it's not a full turtleneck. And then the sleeves are puffy and then they come together at the wrist. They have a little elastic band and then a little bit of a hem on there. I absolutely love pairing that even with just jeans, and I'll wear a little camisole underneath it to because it's see-through. That's one of my favorite pieces to style for fall, and I also think it would even look cute like over a slip dress that you could wear underneath. And I think that from like sheer blouses to patterned pants, for fall, I would just say think outside of your typical white lace. Like if you're picturing bridal here, turn it around in your head to picture more deep tones like the burgundies and the jewel tones that I was talking about earlier, or even like deep brown or black. That's definitely the kind of vibe that I'm thinking of in my head for this. The next trend that is coming up is playfully preppy. And for me, this is probably a trend that I wouldn't necessarily lean into as much just because my style is not what I would describe as preppy. But for this, think about the fisherman kind of style that was popular in like spring, summer. I don't know if anyone was in anthropology during the months of like June and July, but they had so much paraphernalia, like so many different tops and hats and little purses and things that had those tinned fish sardines or salmon on them. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the canned tinned fish. For some reason, that became a big aesthetic over the summer. And I actually did remember thinking it was so cute. I don't know if there's something nostalgic about it or if it's like vintage inspired and that's why, or if it was just so novelty and I hadn't really seen someone put like tinned fish on a hat in a long time. I'm going to see if I can link one thing in the show notes from Anthro, see if there's anything still on their website, just to illustrate what I'm talking about, because I feel like I'm not explaining it very well. But all of that to say that if that aesthetic was really big this spring, summer, think of this as the fall take on it. So think about items like a barn jacket. When you think of a barn jacket, it's almost like a relaxed, slightly oversized canvas jacket that has lots of big pockets, that sometimes has a contrasting color on the collar and that kind of snaps to button in the front. You could even think about items like rain boots and incorporating those into outfits, but layered in a way that doesn't make it feel like you're about to just go sloshing through a river. That feels a little bit more elevated and a little bit more street style inspired. You know what I actually think is a great visual to describe playfully preppy is almost like J. Crew meets Patagonia. So you still have those classic styles and silhouettes. You still have those neutral colors that J. Crew is really known for and those more tailored silhouettes. But then on the other side, with Patagonia inspired, you're more so thinking about contrasting those fitted silhouettes with some oversized ones, maybe incorporating some more elements of being outdoors. It's like, what would the first lady wear? Not this current first lady, picture literally any other first lady in your head. What would like the first lady kind of wear if she was just going for a pleasant walk on a trail on a tree covered pathway? Not a hike. This is not straight up hiking gear, but it's more like living in that nature and embracing more of the preppy, all American kind of aesthetic. Okay, moving on. Another one that I loved and saw tons of different names for, but no one called it what I thought was the most obvious name for it, and that is inside out. If you've ever fantasized about wearing your pajamas outside of the house, this is definitely your chance, because we are seeing lots of different silhouettes like silky and satin nightgown inspired dresses or cute camisole pajama tops being worn and styled out on the streets. It's essentially your chance to bring sleepwear to streetwear, and I know that everyone has definitely thought about doing this at some point, especially on lazy days. Brands like Chloe and Miu Miu used this motif in their fall runway collections, and what I also think is great about this is it makes it really easy when it comes to layering. So one of my favorite personal layering looks is to take a silky kind of lacy camisole and wear it over a long sleeve top. I feel like that provides some really interesting contrast, and it allows you to embrace the aesthetic without going fully overboard, without feeling like you're actually leaving your home in your pajamas. One way also that I would style like a silky spaghetti strap nightgown would be over like a thin long sleeve black turtleneck and with a pair of combat boots. I think that that gives a very tough girl energy to what is otherwise a very dainty feminine look. And I really like the idea of the dichotomy of those two things coming together. Kind of on a similar note, actually, for the next one, I called it punk but make it chic. And to be honest, I probably could have come up with a better name than that. But think about it, if Lily Vanderwoodson from Gossip Girl was who she is today, but she suddenly got thrust back on like the Lincoln Hawk tour bus. It's like tweed jackets, but styled with studded purses or thicker combat boots, or a moto jacket, but that's cinched at the waist. And in terms of styling, like your hair is pulled back into a slick bun and you have like big earrings on. Something else that might help you visualize this trend is I did see a lot of animal prints mixed into this type of aesthetic. And again, animal print is one of those things that I feel like it does come back every season. I feel like it's not new or an official like trend specific to 2025 to say that animal print is in, but I think that in this context of the punk but make it chic, you could kind of envision like a zebra print chic jacket or a leopard maxi skirt, taking those elements of things that feel a little, for lack of a better word, wild, because they are inspired by animals, of course, and then bringing it into something that feels a little bit more tame and restrained with how you actually choose to style it. And then the last one that I wanted to mention, only because I feel like this trend is really cyclical and doesn't actually happen every year, is really the faux fur statement piece. Designers like Michael Kors and Simone Rocha used faux fur in their fall 2025 runway collections, and I think that the beauty of this is it's luxe, but it's also so cozy and will actually keep you warm, especially as we do get into the colder months of the year. For me, the obvious piece here is the faux fur statement jacket. This can instantly transform an entire look and give you a very specific and chic vibe. But maybe you also are wearing a faux fur purse, or maybe you find faux fur gloves or something that like makes the outfit really fun and exciting. That is definitely something that caught my eye from this last season, and those are the 6 fall 2025 trends that I'm most excited about. Okay, now I want to move on and talk about what I'm still shopping for that was on my list from last year. And if you missed the episode where I talked about getting out of a style rut, one of the things that I did was really go through my closet and take stock of where I felt there were gaps in my wardrobe. And I can link that episode in the show notes if you didn't get a chance to listen to it. I can get that link ready to go for you if you want. But what I liked about doing that list is that now I kind of have this continual shopping list that I can always refer back to, even now, a year later. And I have not checked everything off of that list right away because that's just not how I shop. I am a pretty slow shopper. I like to think a lot about pieces before I actually choose to buy them. I definitely shop way less now than I did in my early 20s, and I'm also more so looking for quality over quantity whenever possible. And sometimes that's hard, sometimes that's not always the case, but I think that, again, just like having this list and reminding myself of what I actually need also prevents me from doing a lot of shopping on a whim or picking up things that are fun and exciting in one moment, but then I get them home and I'm like, oh, this doesn't go with anything else I have, or this isn't going to be very easy for me to style for whatever reason. So anyway, a couple of things that are still on my shopping list from last year are, number one, slingback kitten heels. This is an item of clothing that I actually feel like could give me a whole new personality. Like I feel like I could be a whole different version of myself if I owned a pair of shoes like this. I think I am just so nervous lately about buying shoes that I think are going to be uncomfortable or that I think are just not going to be practical and that I'm going to want to reach for. And I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I've been having a hard time with this ever since COVID. I used to wear heels and walk around the city all the time, even if it was painful. There was just something in me that was like, it was baked more into my DNA where it was like, I'm just wearing these today. Like, that's what I'm wearing. And I don't know. I just feel like it's so much harder now to find what I'm looking for on the shoe front. And I can actually tell you guys such an embarrassing story. So last year I was working with Lulu's on like a gifted basis, and they were actually kind enough to like gift me some pieces each month, and I would end up making some kind of styling reel incorporating them. And that was a partnership that was like nice for me just because I loved Lulu's already and wanted to make fashion content, but I wasn't necessarily looking to like buy a ton of clothes every month. So I ultimately ended up moving on from that partnership because after working together for a few months, I felt like I should be, paid for the work that I was doing versus just gifted. And they just didn't have that structure within their gifting program at the time. So I stopped. But one pair of sandals that I had received from that partnership was pretty cute and like I would wear around sometimes, but I ended up wearing them out to an event in the city. I want to say earlier this spring, actually. Yeah, it was a YouTube event. And anyway, I was walking home and the bottom of these sandals like were so cheaply made that the leather at the bottom of the sandals was really slippery. So I actually like first slid and like managed to catch myself and stay upright as I was rounding a corner. And I'm a fast walker, especially when I have to like catch a bus or a train. Like I am walking as briskly as possible. And I was like, oh my God, that was kind of crazy. And then I was still walking. And what ended up happening was as I was walking across the crosswalk, the paint on the crosswalk and the slickness of the leather created this like really slippery surface. And I actually fell, like I slipped and fell in the middle of the crosswalk, also right as the light was about to change. So like a car was about to like come through. And I fell right on my like upper tailbone and it hurt so badly. And like I fell so hard that for a second I was like, did I just like break my back or like it was truly terrifying, actually, and a couple people had to, like, physically help me up and get me out of the middle of the street so that I could, like, go recover on the sidewalk, and that was so terrifying, and I threw that pair of shoes out immediately when I got home, and I had to, like, ice my my upper butt for, like, 2 weeks. It actually really, really hurt, and I'm lucky that it wasn't worse than that, and I was able to just, like, walk home and that I'm fine, but if that's not a lesson in buying quality footwear and making sure that you are buying shoes with like rubber soles or like things that I swear I'm also like not even that clumsy. It was just like the shoes were that bad quality. I'm sorry to say. Like I have gotten other things from Lulu's over the years, like clothing wise and have not have an issue, but I would never purchase a pair of shoes through them again. Like that's just not going to happen. All of this to say, I am very skeptical when it comes to the shoes that I let into my closet. I have been styling a lot of sneakers and ankle boots for the most part over the last 2 years. But I do feel like the kitten heel would be a really cute addition to my closet. So that's what I have to say about that. Okay, another thing on my list is an oversized bomber jacket. And I know very well that Zara makes like some variation of this every single year. And I think this might be the year that I just cave and purchase it because I used to have an oversized bomber jacket from Zara that I loved. And I really should have just purchased like the next size up because what ended up happening was it just kind of started to get uncomfortable when I actually needed to layer a thick sweater underneath it to be warm enough to leave the house. And it just got to the point where it was too tight. And I almost felt like the kid from A Christmas Story. Like I almost felt like Randy being like, my arms are not like going down by my sides. They're almost like sticking out a little bit. Just wasn't the most comfortable thing. And I know better now to size up and account for actual like thick sweaters that I might be wearing underneath a jacket. But I've always loved that style of jacket. I would want it to be in some kind of like suede or shearling combo, I think, versus like a leather jacket because I have a couple of leather jackets already that I really love. Another piece that I'm on the hunt for is a cropped puffer vest. I currently own more of an oversized puffer vest that I got from Urban Outfitters a few years ago, and I absolutely love that one. I feel like having the cropped one would come into play as well and would be good for weekends running errands and things like that. Just kind of like an extra cute little layer for when you need it that isn't as like bulky or oversized as the one that I currently have because I like styling the one that I have so much that I'm kind of ready to like add another one into the mix. And that was something that I like never used to wear vests. And then I think 2 or 3 years ago, just some kind of switch flipped. Like I think I saw it styled in just the right way on someone's Instagram that I was like, I need one of those. And ever since, it's become one of my favorite accessories or layering pieces, I guess you could call it. Okay, another item on my list is a chunky cropped knit sweater, but in a bold color. Like, I am good on the neutrals. I have a white sweater, I have a black sweater. I think I even have a brown sweater and one that's green. But I want one in a fun color. I want like a bright orange or like a pink or something like that. And I envision styling this both with high waisted jeans and also with midi skirts. I have two silk midi skirts that I really love. I have one in brown and one in pink. And I just feel like it would be so fun to mix and match the thick knitted texture of the sweater with like the silky smooth texture of the skirt. That in my head to me is already computing as like a fall outfit formula that I could rely on and come back to. So that is still on my list. And then the last thing is an item that I have been going back and forth on probably for years at this point, and it's like not that dramatic one way or another, but I feel like I am ready to get a trench coat. And I think I want a trench coat that is not in your typical khaki color. I'm pretty sure my friend Caitlin Patton has one that's almost in like a gray blue. I have a mental picture saved somewhere in my brain. I'm pretty sure of her wearing it in London a few years ago, like reaching for some flowers. I'm gonna have to like see if I can find this Instagram post of hers because it's such a specific image that somehow got like marked into my brain. And I think I'm still thinking about that. But yeah, I feel like the regular khaki color is maybe like not the most flattering on me. I feel like if I lean more into a gray or a blue or even maybe like an olive green trench coat, I don't know. I feel like there's some styling possibilities that would be good there. And then I also feel like that's an item that I would wear in the spring as well. That is what is on my shopping list still from last year. And if you're hearing some of this and you're like, okay, I hear what you want to add, but like when I think about the basics of a fall wardrobe, like where do I even start? You know, the whole premise of this podcast is it's a fun lifestyle listen. But if there were ever a moment to take notes, if you are like, okay, no, I want to know what should my fall capsule wardrobe consist of, I'm about to give you a little checklist. One of the top things that I'm always reaching for this time of year is either a lightweight turtleneck or long sleeve shirt. And they're just so versatile. I was talking about this when I was talking about the inside out trend with nightgowns, like wearing a silky nightgown, but over top of a thin turtleneck, I think could be so cute. And if you need somewhere to buy all of these basics, I have to recommend Uniqlo. They also have heat tech, which comes in handy in the winter months, but just as far as quality basics go, long sleeve shirts, thin turtlenecks, like they really will have everything there. I can link some Uniqlo favorites in the show notes too, because I've definitely like made a collage about that for LTK before. Another classic fall wardrobe staple for me is the leather jacket. This is the jacket that you can pretty much always find me in September and October. I feel like when I need a layer, that is the first thing I'm reaching for because it makes everything look chic. It makes everything look cool. My current favorite leather jacket that I have is actually from Rebecca Minkoff. The brand very kindly gifted this to me a few seasons ago. I kind of don't know what I did to deserve that. Like, that's one of those items that came in and it was just so beautiful. And like, it just showed up at my door. And I remember looking at like the price and everything and being like, how, like, what am I doing with this jacket? This is crazy. But I wear it all the time, truly to this day. And I love that jacket because it actually has gold hardware rather than silver hardware. And I typically wear more gold jewelry. So that is just like something that has ended up working out really well. But then I do also have this blank NYC more cropped leather jacket that has silver hardware. And honestly, between those two, I feel very covered. I actually have been meaning to bring the blank NYC one to the leather spa or the leather shop here in Hoboken to see if they might be able to fix it. Honestly, I've worn it so much over the years that like the collar in the back, I can see where the leather has faded a tiny bit. And I definitely feel like I would be willing to invest and give it like that TLC versus go buy a new jacket because the silhouette is one that I feel like I can always come back to and always rely on. Whether I'm wearing this like with jeans and a t-shirt and it's just like so simple and clean and I love that look, or if I'm wearing it over like a flowy maxi dress to add some contrast, there feels like no shortage of ways to style a leather jacket this time of year. And if leather is a little too intense for you, maybe look into a suede option. I feel like the Moto cut of a jacket is just really flattering, and you can get it a little cropped, you can get it a little more oversized. You can definitely find something that suits your vibe. Another critical wardrobe staple for me for fall is my straight leg jeans. And right now, I have a favorite pair of straight leg jeans from Madewell. And then I do also have a pair of more wide leg jeans from Abercrombie that I love. But I just feel like the straight leg jean is the Goldilocks. It's not a skinny jean, it's not a wide leg. It literally is just right. And when I think about if I could recommend one pair of jeans for fall, that is immediately where my brain goes. I love these because they look good with all different types of shoes too. Like you can wear them with sneakers, you could wear them with ankle boots kind of sticking out a little bit. You could wear them with a ballet flat or a mule. And then they're really easy to dress up or dress down. If you want to go more casual, you could do like a light sweater or a t-shirt, or you could wear a cute silky blouse and do a belt with like nice hardware, and it just will immediately look elevated. And I wear jeans very consistently all throughout fall, like at least minimum twice a week. I feel like I'm in my jeans. On that note, too, I think that ankle boots are the perfect fall shoe. I really can't say enough good things about ankle boots, and there's so many different silhouettes and options to choose from. You could do more of like a sleek Chelsea boot that has a low heel. You could do like a sock boot style. Those are really nice to style with denim, because if it's more of a skinny jean, you can actually tuck the jean into the sock boot, or if it's more of a straight or a wide leg jean, then the ankle boot can go just inside around your ankle, obviously, and then the jeans can kind of layer over top of it. Honestly, a no-brainer styling option for me personally. Another key piece of a fall capsule wardrobe for me is an oversized blazer, and I specify oversized. Even if you like things more tailored, stay with me for a minute here, because I think the oversized blazer provides so much chicness and contrast to the way that you style it with other pieces that are more fitted. Or if you really want to lean into the playful aesthetic, you could wear an oversized blazer and a matching pant and have a really cute belt that you wear with it to cinch it in. I feel like it really is all about the contrast in that sense. You can also wear it over a mini dress, and even if the blazer is like a little longer than the dress, I think that is a really cool look. Or you could even wear it with jeans and a blouse. And I think that the key with the oversized blazer is actually like scrunching up the sleeves. And I've seen people scrunch up the sleeves in various different ways. I know one girl who I follow on YouTube, I feel like she hasn't posted in a while, but I used to watch a lot of her fashion videos. She would actually take a hair tie and like put it around her wrist and then use the hair tie to kind of hold the blazer sleeves scrunched up in their place so that they wouldn't move. Obviously, you need to make sure to find a hair tie that won't cut off your circulation, but like that's a fun little styling hack. Some of them actually come with little buttons where you can roll up or cuff the sleeves and then use the button to like hold it in place. I am a big fan of even just simply rolling up the sleeves as well. I have a couple of oversized blazers in my wardrobe, and I always just feel so cool when I'm wearing them. I feel like it does give the very like borrowed from the boys style that seems very effortless. Okay, and then the last thing on my fall capsule wardrobe checklist is a great midi dress. And for me, during the fall months, I am going to want this midi dress in like a knit fabric, ideally. I actually, you guys, there's a dress that I rented from Nuuly, I want to say 2 years ago now. Karia has photographed me in it for Fashion Week before, and I'm convinced this is like the perfect midi dress, and I'm debating renting it again through Nuuly so I can buy it. But essentially, it is a brown midi dress. It feels like a really thick knit, like the quality feels really amazing. And it's long sleeve, but it also had some cutouts by the waist. And then the way that the skirt flared out was just so flattering. All right, now I have to quickly deep dive back into my Nuuly rentals to see what the brand even was for this, because I love this dress. There have been a couple of times over the years where I've tried to purchase a dress that like replicates this one. I'm honestly almost at the point where I'm like, I think I should have just like bought that dress. You know what I mean? Okay, I found it. It was the mock neck knit midi dress from Aster the Label, and I was incorrect. The cutouts are actually up by the shoulder area. It was literally just so flattering. It says that it retails for $89, so if I rent it through the Nuuly, they would surely offer it to me at a discount. Wait, it says I can buy it from the thrift shop for $15. Ships free in your next Newly. Guys, I might be doing this. What? Buy it for $15? Sign me up. Did I know that Newly has this thrift shop? By the way, this is a random tip that I wasn't actually planning to include in the episode because I feel like I have mentioned this in my personal style episode, and also getting out of a style route episode, obviously, is to like rent through Newly so that you don't have to buy everything brand new all the time. But whatever this thrift shop thing is, might just be like a new unlock for me too. Not to mention, I do obviously just love renting through Newly. If you've never tried it before, I do have a discount code for your first box that I can leave in the show notes. But oh my God, wait. I might need to unlock my Newly just to like buy this dress again because honestly, I just can't stop thinking about it. And when you have something you just can't stop thinking about, that probably means that you're not going to go out and find like a better alternative. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so now where were we? We've made it through the fall capsule wardrobe checklist. Lightweight turtlenecks or long sleeves. And honestly, getting those in a lot of different colors, I'm a fan of as well. Leather jacket, straight leg jeans, ankle boots, oversized blazer, and knit midi dress. Yes, I now remember that's what pushed me down the Newly rabbit hole. Thank you guys for bearing with me while I did that. Okay, now I did write down a couple of textures that I think you can add to your closet or start wearing this time of year to make it feel like fall. And I wanted to separate this from fall trends because sometimes I see these listed as fall trends and I'm like, those aren't necessarily trends in my eyes unless people are being super inventive with them and doing it in a way that like we haven't seen ever before. These are more just like fabrics that kind of resurface this time of year because it's getting colder and we need to clothe ourselves. But I also am titling this section Textures to Add to Your Closet to Make It Feel Like Fall because I acknowledge that not everyone lives in a climate where fall is imminent. I am in the Northeast. We experience all four seasons here, but some of you may live in California, Florida. Some of you might even be in the Southern Hemisphere, in which case you are about to enter spring and summer. So if you want to channel the fall energy, these are textures and fabrics that I feel like you can sprinkle into your wardrobe to give a little bit of a hint of fall, but like you don't necessarily have to bury yourself in more heavy pieces if you are going to be sweltering hot, and that's not the reality of your climate. So, to start off, I love shearling during the fall months. I think this is so fun in terms of outerwear and sweaters specifically. Obviously, this is also the time of year where like Uggs shine, and having those kind of boots and insulated pieces to keep you warm is always nice. I actually also have a shearling bucket hat. I have no idea where I even got this from. It must have been like an H&M impulse purchase, I want to say, but maybe I should bring that back and try to style it into fall and winter. There's one photo that, again, Karia and I shot together from Fashion Week. Oh God, what was it? It might have been February 2020, which we didn't know it was ahead. We had no idea. But there is a picture of me in a pink puffer coat that I rented from Newly and this shearling bucket hat standing next to a mailbox. It's actually such an iconic photo. I love that picture so much. And I feel like that was kind of the one and only time I wore this shearling bucket hat, but I did remember that I had it as I was creating this episode outline. But I do think that is such a fun fabric to wear this time of year. Even like a shearling scarf or gloves that have shearling trim on them. I think that there's so much to play with when it comes to that texture. Another probably pretty obvious one is suede. And for me, suede really shines most with outerwear and also with accessories. In a sense, that also kind of makes me think of Uggs, but also even just like a nice suede jacket. And you could get suede that's super soft, or you could get suede that's really stiff. And I think that that's one of those fabrics where it becomes such a statement piece when you put it on because it really does dictate like the rest of your outfit and how it's being perceived. So suede is definitely one of my favorite fabrics, and I love like a warm, almost honey colored suede this time of year. Another fabric is corduroy. Oh my God, I just remembered I used to have this pair of corduroy trousers from And Other Stories that I gave away a few years ago because I didn't fit into them anymore, but it was like this soft baby pink and they were wide leg trousers. I thought these were the coolest pants in the whole world. And I kind of want to channel that again this time of year. Maybe get a pair of corduroy pants. I also feel like corduroy mini skirts are so cute for fall. To have that kind of texture, it's almost like ribbed in a way, but it's velvety in a nature. And I feel like that is such a fun one to layer with like a pair of sheer tights, ankle boots, and a chunky sweater on top. Like that is such a great fall outfit. Along with that, of course, is thick, chunky knitwear. Give me like as much yarn, as thick of a strand of yarn as you could possibly give me in one piece. And clearly, I feel like sweaters are the standout here, but you could also think about knitwear in terms of, your accessories, scarves, hats, gloves, all of the things that make layering fun during these months. And then lastly, I just wrote all the leather. And whether you are getting a pair of pleather, I don't know, like the Spanx leggings that you just want to wear with like oversized sweaters and things like that, or whether you're investing in a biker jacket or combat boots, leather, it's leather weather. We're on the verge of it. Actually, we have had such a beautiful streak of weather in the last few weeks that New York Metro Weather, which I follow on Instagram, has actually like gone out of their way to point out that this is the nicest week we've had consecutively in 4 years since they started rating the weather each week, which is crazy, but also amazing. And speaking of the temperatures changing, I feel like this time of year where the temperatures are a little unpredictable, where it might be cold in the morning, warm later in the day, it does make getting dressed a little confusing. So I wanted to share a few quick transitional weather styling tips for you to take with you after this episode. So I think the first thing is just light layers. It might seem like it's so warm when you leave the house, but as soon as the sun starts to set, could get a little bit chilly. So think about bringing along light layers like a jacket. The trench coat would be a great light layer, or even an oversized blazer like I was talking about. Something that's not a full-on coat, but that will keep you warm when needed. Also, when it comes to outfit proportions, I would probably say think about wearing like long sleeves with mini skirts or jeans with a t-shirt. I think that having the balance of like one of your limbs hanging out versus like all or nothing can also help set the tone for fall and transitional weather. Also, during this time of year, I'm obsessed with just tall boots and tights. I feel like that is a match made in heaven. And if you want to bring something else in your purse with you, or if you want to leave something in your car, depending on the situation, if you feel like you might need an extra layer of some kind, I feel like you can layer with accessories for more flexibility. So, like, bringing a hat to have with you, or a scarf, or a puffer vest, something like that, to not necessarily have to go for a full-on layer, like a full-on jacket or anything like that, but just to have one other thing with you that will make you more comfortable. And last but not least, I thought I would share a couple of fall outfit formulas. So for a go-to weekend look for me in the fall, that is probably going to look like an oversized sweater paired with my straight leg jeans. And then the shoe could vary. If I'm going out to meet friends, I'm going somewhere kind of nice, maybe I'll opt for like mules or a ballet flat. Or if I'm just bopping around the neighborhood, I might be in a pair of sneakers like my Allbirds Canvas Piper sneakers, or honestly, my Converse high top platform sneakers. They get a lot of wear from me this time of year. If you need a cute outfit for work, I feel like a pair of tailored trousers, you can never go wrong. Or you could also swap this for like wide leg jeans if you work in a bit more of a casual office, and a long sleeve basic top with a plaid blazer, like a checked blazer of some kind thrown over top. I mean, I think this is just a no-brainer and something that's simple, easy, and clean. If you're going out for a little date night, might I suggest a slip dress paired with your leather jacket and then a cute pair of ankle boots. That's one really cute outfit formula that I feel like you probably already have in your closet. And then another one, just to throw it in there, I'll call this like a casual chic outfit, could be a midi dress. Maybe this is in just like a knit or a cotton fabric versus something silky or satiny, a pair of sneakers, and a cute chunky cardigan. I just love that kind of look, honestly. And that brings us to the end of the episode. Like I was saying at the top, you guys, it's September now. I give myself full permission to start talking about fall. Starbucks is serving pumpkin spice lattes, okay? So I feel like it is time. The Gilmore Girls are defrosting. There's a lot of good things to look forward to in the next couple of weeks. And if you're still in the mood to chat fall, go back and listen to an episode I did last year called Autumn Girlies Rise Up. I absolutely love that episode. It didn't really have like an SEO friendly name, so it's one of my like lower ranked episodes, but basically in that episode we talk about all different types of fun fall things, like fun fall TV to watch, things to get you in the fall mood, fall shopping list, fall beauty trends, all of that type of stuff. Honestly, it's from last year, but I feel like it's pretty timeless. So I will link that in the show notes if you're still craving a bit more fall chatter. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. I hope you have a great start to your September, and I will talk to you again next week.